sisters! Calling all Sony sisters, for it is time to rise up. We are the chosen ones. The ones who will destroy the heathens at Disney Marvel. We must destroy them, stop them, grab your shields and your swords. It is time for war, my sister. Sony sisters, and we will be victorious. We will not lose. Victory is ours. We are the light that shines in the darkness. Okay. This movie is fantastic. Absolutely brilliant in almost every way. Not perfect, but brilliant. There are some things in this movie where I can roll my eyes over, but other than that, this movie is so enjoyable, so completely enthralling that it leaves you wanting for more. And we have been desperate. We are in desperate need of superhero films like these. It has been so long since we've had a or at least me, since I've had a superhero film that I can just honestly enjoy to my heart's content. Not since I don't even remember the last time. Oh my God, when was the last time? Because all the shit from Marvel and DC as well, it's just like dog shit, just horrible movies and characters you don't care about. They just horrible dialogue. The shows as well, just like constant content, and it's so tiresome to watch all of it knowing that none of it is any good. What I'm thinking? I think literally I think it literally was the last superhero movie I enjoyed was Spider-Man. It was No Way Home. That was the last. When was that? Like 2020? Been like 3 years. Okay, maybe it was 2021. Either way, it's funny how another Spider-Man film is the only other good superhero movie in like a long time. It's kind of crazy. Just this one's by Sony. Yay! They can get this right, but they can't give us games. Like we can get cool animated movies, but not games for our consoles. Oh well, so the pain to be a Sony sister. Oh God. All right. Now I don't want to. This might be my actually. This might be my first spoiler-free review of any movie I've done on this channel. I am super apprehensive to even talk about the plot that happened in this film, even a tiny bit. I don't want to talk about the characters. I don't want to talk about the development, really. It is the only reason I don't want to really do that is because after this film was finished, it's crazy. I thought we were getting an actual resolution to this story. But no, this is part one. Unbelievable. I did not expect it. This is part one of this Across the Spider-Verse. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I couldn't believe it. Blew all my expectations out of the water. Kudos to them. Like literally, kudos to them, right? Because they had it in the bag, honestly, in a lot of certain respects, right? Because the first film was a monumental success. It was huge. Everybody loved it, and as far as I can tell right now, when making this video, everybody loves this film as well. The animation, incredibly crisp and clean, super dynamic. Even like if you want to say it probably is even a step above the first movie. It's been a few years, so they had the time to really work on it, and that might have been a gamble to like really work with that for Sony to like not make this particular story Across the Spider-Verse finish. It seemed like they had a plan, okay, and they're taking that plan and they're just running with it and they don't care. That would have been a gamble. But it like paid off because they put the work in. They put the work in for the animation, our characters, and the plot. Even our villain, it was crazy. I can speak in generalities for this. Again, I don't really want to spoil anything. I basically talked about the animation. It's pretty crisp. It's pretty clean. Um, I would compare it to Puss in Boots' animation. This animation style, if you want to call it, they're not like totally the same. Spider Verse is just slightly different, but they're similar in a lot of ways. But like Puss in Boots, I had a problem with this in their animation, even though it was really good. Slight frame rate drops in certain scenes. There are a lot of like scenes here in this movie that are like filled with just like information constantly, right? Like tons of shit going on everywhere. When that's happening, slight frame rate drops. you know, but so small that you'll barely notice it at all, right? Very 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 subtly. Like if you're looking out for it, you'll notice it. But if you're not, there's no way you could. They did a great job with that. It's not like really that important, but they did a good job with that. The characters here, they do so many things with our new characters and old ones. Lots of good character development from our old ones, especially Gwen. I'll just say that out front. She is Gwen is in a huge portion of this movie, more than I thought she would be. She's in it almost as much as Miles. She might literally be equal in the amount of their screen time. But they get like tons of characterization together as well. Their chemistry is a lot better in this movie as well. I like that it works more. I think in this movie. That's probably debatable, but I enjoyed it, so I didn't have any problems with it. Our villain for this movie is great. He is a villain of consequence. I can say that this movie does a good job with this like narrative of, and this happens a lot with like other like Spider-Man tropes, or and just tropes in superhero films. The hero will do an action that inconsequentially creates something that they have to fix later on, right? And this happens in tons of interluding stories throughout our history. It happens in this one too. They make it work great, so I have no problems with that. And it takes good writing skills to pull that off. And it's funny, it's comedic. It's not horrible. There's tons of great dialogue in this movie, tons of great comedic scenes as well in this movie. Oh, especially when like we finally go to like Spider Verse and we see like 100 different Spider Men. They literally show, and I don't know like more than half of these Spider Men. Like right, there's so fucking many of them, so many different versions of Spider Man. It's kind of crazy. But they none of them are like particularly important. Just are a few like supporting cast Spider Verse characters that we really get to know. Those ones are fleshed out better than just all the like other random Peter Parkers that show up. They're used for comic relief though, and even our like own like supporting cast. They also have their own comic relief. They're good, but the comedy. My point is the comedy. They use all these other Spider-Men greatly to their advantage for just like huge amounts of comedic effect. It's pretty great. And it's sprinkled all throughout the entire film. Something that these Marvel films have like forgotten how to do is differentiating the tone between serious scenes and the comedic scenes. This movie hits it on the mark pretty flawlessly, I might add. It's pretty seamless how they do it, and it works really well. They don't miss a mark. Again, they do a really great job. We've been sorely needing something like that too. It seems that because the other like Marvel Disney has really forgotten how to like interlude comedy between their like more serious toned scenes in their films, interspliced with like bad dialogue. This film is great. It has great dialogue. It has great comedic value. The tone shifts seem to flow pretty flawlessly. Our villain's good. One problem I would have is like the main plot, obviously the multiverse. Now the stakes in this movie are enormous. They are kind of crazy how the stakes are being sort of introduced into this. It makes sense though for the film. I understand like what's happening. In some other like Marvel films, you like Ant Man and maybe not Guardians, but like Infinity War, Loki, all those other shows, Doctor Strange. The stakes are just like thrown at a wall, and it's just like, oh, you gotta take all this bullshit, and none of it makes any sense. The stakes here make sense. They are huge, but they're slightly like, I don't know about this certain aspect of it, but I can take it because they're explaining it in this, way that, and this is the rules for this universe, not necessarily the Disney Marvel universe, and it's not like they're backtracking on their ideas from the first movie. They're just taking it forward. So I'm okay with it. I don't have any huge problems with that. I just have to think about it more. I've only seen the movie once. So maybe if I watch it like a second and third time, I'll have some more thoughts about the actual like stance of these stakes and what's happening in this universe. But it's crazy. We see like Peters, by the way, from like we even see like live action Peters. We see like Andrew Garfield Peter at some point, and Tobey Maguire as well, I think. And we get a nice little cameo from Spectacular Spider-Man as well. Crazy, just tons of Spider-Mans everywhere throughout this film. It's pretty great. So with all that said, we end the movie off on a pretty serious tone. It just ends off on a huge cliffhanger. So because of that cliffhanger, I don't really want to spoil anything in this film. Now, once the next part of this film comes out, probably in like who knows when, maybe 5 years, maybe they already got it half done or something like that. I don't know. I haven't seen the news on it yet. But when that comes out, I'll probably come back and do like an actual proper review of this movie, and then a proper review of that movie, the second half. So then we can compare and contrast them and compare them as well to like the first Spider-Verse movie. I think that'll be more interesting than just like talking about the movie as a whole here, since it's technically the story's not finished. It's just an uncompleted story, and it's strange here. As you can see, this movie's around like 2 hours, 15 minutes. I believe the first movie's around an hour and 40 minutes. This movie's like slightly longer even. They went all out. Sony went all out on this film. They didn't hold back at all. So I like it. This is an incredibly enjoyable film. You'll have a lot of fun with it. Absolutely. Way more fun than anything from DC, anything from Marvel at this time. I'm finally happy we get like an actual good superhero movie. We've been sorely needing something like that. I love all the characters. Yeah, some more than others. um, the animation's brilliant, of course. Story's really interesting. And that's about it, guys. I like our villain as well. He's pretty interesting too. But yeah, all right. I think I'm done rambling. Hope you enjoyed sort of discussion here. Have a nice day, guys. See ya.